Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to start this off by saying that a lot of people seem to really enjoy the Ralph McQuarrie artwork videos. So we're going to be doing more of that today, looking at some more of his artwork from the original trilogy, just kind of talking about what we see and what that vision would ultimately lead to in the final version. So we're going to start off here with the heroes looking at the Millennium Falcon for the first time in the docking bay on Tatooine. And we can see that the original design for the Millennium Falcon was vastly different from what we would ultimately get in the films. I do like this design though. I do think it captures that magic of a very plain, not special looking ship that has all of this lore and history behind it. That's really cool. Love the Tatooine work by McQuarrie. And here we have some Tusken Raiders having a rave in the Tatooine desert at nighttime. Really love this one. The Tuskens were one of the coolest designs from the original trilogy. And I love that here we get a peek into their culture. We see them sitting around a bonfire, likely performing some type of ritual or telling stories. I do think the flags are interesting, as you can see there, with the flags bearing what is likely a symbol of their tribe. This is a really cool piece. You get a little snippet of a bantha there in the background on the right. Very mystic. Here we have the opening boarding sequence on the Tantive 4 from the opening scene of the original Star Wars movie. Really love the design of the stormtroopers. In the early designs, they had the equivalent of lightsabers and shields. And I love Vader's very overly dramatic, thick coat that he's wearing. It's like his cape is almost part of his armor in this visual, which it's a really menacing look. The OG concept art McQuarrie did for Vader and the Stormtroopers, while not as iconic in what we know as the final designs, are still some of the best early concept work that he did. I think it really nailed home that bad guy imagery. This is a beautiful shot of Luke looking through the binoculars out over the Dune Sea in Tatooine. Again, all of the Tatooine work that he did was phenomenal. You get to see the twin suns there in the background with the sky, all the different layers of textures that he was able to implement in creating the desert. Just really phenomenal. I love the way the you can see the dust cloud as the land rises up to meet the horizon of the sky. Very nice detail, something that any artist could appreciate. And again, you're setting the scene for one of the most iconic planets and iconic planets of Star Wars with the amount of times that we see Tatooine throughout the movies. Here we have some sketch work. Again, it's early concept of Vader. I think the mask almost having the skeletal type of look, which don't get me wrong, that is reflected in the final version, but the early version is definitely more menacing, almost creepy in a way, like a horror movie villain or an alien would look. I really love the menacing depth that they took Vader, and I think it did result in them creating what is arguably the most iconic villain in all of film and television. But here we see the early roots of that. We see that McQuarrie was basically playing around with this idea of having an almost grotesque design for the mask, which again, I personally love. I love the iconography of Vader himself. It's phenomenal. Here we have the Jawa Sandcrawler. Again, Tatooine has two suns, also has two moons, as we can see in the background of this painting. Really love this. I can talk all day about the Tatooine aspect of it and just how beautiful that planet translates to artwork. But it's cool to see the design for the Sandcrawler, not very different from what we got in the films. Sandcrawler being the home of the Jawas, the junk traders, as we can see here. The Sandcrawler making its way through Tatooine with the Jawas looking for the next unsuspecting customers to sell their recycled and retooled garbage to. So, great piece. Right, here we have Rebels preparing for the Battle above Yavin 4, the Death Star run, if you will. Here we have an early design for what appears to be a Y Wing or B Wing potentially. It's a Rebel ship, different than what we would get in the final design. Definitely has more of a classic traditional spaceship type of look with the dome bubble that you can see there at the top. You got all of the Rebel pilot technicians fueling up the ship for its launch. These are things that you would see in the final film. I do think it's interesting that the moon in the background there is white and not that bright red that we would get in the final product. And here we have early concept art of not only a TIE fighter pilot inside of the cockpit, but also the Death Star itself, as you can see there in the background. Looking very different from the final version, but still just as menacing, and I think it would work just as well if they had went with a design more similar to that. The TIE fighter pilot design is not totally different, but it's good to get an inside the cockpit view because that's not something we got a whole lot of from the villain perspective. So, again, it adds more context to the Battle of Yavin. And another really great piece by Ralph McQuarrie, the way he was able to integrate the different colors into the reflections and the sheens on the helmets, something he was really a master of his craft at creating. So, yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know what you think about Ralph McQuarrie and his artwork. If you haven't, check out our other Ralph McQuarrie artwork videos. We're kind of going through his whole catalog, just checking all of it out and just showing appreciation for the man that brought so much of Star Wars to life. And if you're not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future Ralph McQuarrie videos or all the other great videos we offer here on the channel. And as always, may the Force be with you. I appreciate you watching. Now let's blow up that like button and go home.